Share a whiskey with me sometime?
So the cub enters the wolf's den. What do you want, cub? You march all the way out to Red Rock Canyon, enter my home as bold as you please, and you have no idea who I am? You've got guts, I'll give you that. Well then, let me educate you. I am the chief of the great Khans. The Khan of Khans, if you like. This is my tribe, and these are my people. You want to hear the story of the great Khans? It's a long one, full of honor, glory, and betrayal. We have suffered, but we will regain our glory. In a hurry, are you? Very well, then. The great Khans came east, out of the NCR 14 years ago. We ruled the wastes then, and called no man master. But we underestimated the families of the Strip, and they drove us back to Bitter Springs, where we remained until the NCR arrived and drove us here. They allied with Mr. House, the self-proclaimed master of New Vegas. He supported them with the resources of New Vegas. Weapons, technology, caps. They were better equipped, and we could not stand against them. When the NCR came to the Mojave, we thought they would be easy pickings. We raided their caravans, their towns, their camps. They couldn't stop us. At least that's what we thought. They tracked us to Bitter Springs and surrounded us. When our children, our sick and old, fled through a nearby pass, the NCR gunned them down. Oh, they claimed it was a miscommunication, but tell that to those who saw our families butchered. Tell it to the survivors who were banished here. Typical. No reference for history in the younger generations. Farewell.
I haven't seen you before. What brings you to the Great Khans? That's a complicated question. They've done horrible things to our people, to be sure, and I've gladly killed many of their soldiers in battle. But I can't bring myself to hate them the way Papa does. Things would damn sure be better for us if they were in charge than Caesar. I suppose if asked, I would. But that's a moot point, because Papa's in charge now, and he's not going anywhere. Papa is one of the best leaders the Khans have ever had. He's kept us together through all of our hardships, ever since we left California. Bitter Springs changed him, though. He started to really hate the NCR after the massacre, and sometimes I worry that's poisoned his mind. Nothing. Forget about it. I shouldn't be talking about this with an outsider. Name's Regis. I'm Papa Khan's advisor and right-hand man. I'm also the chief enforcer of the tribe's laws, so watch your behavior. Until next time.
If we weren't in Khan territory, I would kill you where you stand. Caesar will be avenged.
They're a tribe of fine warriors with many proud traditions and a glorious history. They will be worthy additions to the Legion.
My name is Courier. Glorious Caesar has sent me as an emissary to the great Khans as a token of our alliance. In exchange for Great Caesar's promise of all the lands west of New Vegas, the Khans have agreed to fight alongside the Legion when the time comes. I am one of the Frumentari. It is my duty to scout the waste in Caesar's name and make contact with any tribes that might serve a useful purpose.
You might say I'm somewhere between a scout and an ambassador. I'm assigned here as part of the alliance between the Legion and the Great Khans. Though they have been cruelly oppressed by the NCR, the Khans remain great warriors. The Legion is honored to have such allies in battle. Speak then. Yes, goodbye.
It's always a pleasure to see you around the camp. Have you now? Well, you're a bold one, I'll give you that. But why should I do this for you? Ha! The great Khans will not be slaves. Caesar himself has promised us the land from here to the Colorado, and the freedom to raid as we see fit. I won't hear any more talk against Caesar or his alliance. The great Khans will answer Caesar's call to war, and the NCR will pay for their crimes.
I heard you try to convince Papa Khan not to join with Caesar's Legion. I'd like to talk to you about that for a moment. You want to convince Papa not to ally with Caesar, right? Trust me, you'll get nowhere just talking to him about it. He's fixated on restoring the glory of the great Khans, and he sees Caesar as the path to that restoration. Papa can be a stubborn man, but he's not a tyrant. He listens to his tribe, and to 4 voices in particular: me, Jack, Diane, and Melissa. If you can convince all of us that allying with Caesar is a bad idea, you might be able to sway him. I have my doubts about Caesar, yes, but I won't publicly go against Papa Khan based on nothing more than doubts. I've heard rumors that tribes who aligned with Caesar in the past were torn apart and reduced to slaves. Prove it, and I'll back you. You'd have to talk to them, but those 2 have been thick as thieves since they were kids. Convince one, and the other will come around. Ah, Melissa. She's a bit of a dreamer. Last time she was in camp, Carl filled her head with stories of serving the Legion as a speculatore. Personally, I've never seen a woman in Legionnaire's armor, so I have my doubts. Good. Oh, one more thing. Caesar's representative, Carl, has become fast friends with Papa. Carl's the one who has him so fixated on this alliance. You'll probably have an easier time of things if you can find a way to get him out of the picture. Carl talks prettily about the honor and nobility of the great Khans, but I suspect his actual opinion is less flattering. Maybe you could find something he wrote that expresses that opinion, or trick him into losing his cool in the longhouse right in front of Papa. I would too, if I were you.
Ah, you're back. What else do you need? Let me see that. Filthy savages. Probably have to decimate the lot of them? Are these the words of our friend, Caesar?
Great Khans, drive Caesar's dog out of our camp. If he's too slow to flee, kill him.
How's my most favoritist friend? Huh? Look, kitty cat, me and Diane, we don't dig on that politics stuff, savvy? We just make the product and make it get to a good home. Sure, Caesar's a drag, but as long as we got each other, we don't care who the top dogs roll with. Dude, what a total haul. No way that's Kopashishi. Yeah, okay. Me and Diane got your back. No sweat. We...
You're not one of my regulars. What do you want? Don't worry, Jack and I have talked it over. We'll talk up the idea of breaking the Alliance. That's close enough. What do you want with the Great Khans? You can ask, but why would I do that? Carl told me all about the life in the Legion. He says I've got all the makings of a speculatory. What? No, What do you mean aren't allowed to serve? Why would he lie about that? That lying little weasel. I almost fell for it too. All right, you've got a deal. You can tell Papa I won't support an alliance.
All 4 of my most trusted advisors have told me we should break our alliance. Maybe I should hear you out after all. I've heard some things from my most trusted Khans that makes me wonder whether this alliance is a good idea after all. But I want to leave a legacy of greatness when I die. My tribe deserves better than this, cowering in a canyon and living on scraps. Tell me then, if I don't join with Caesar's Legion, where will I find my tribe's lost glory? The followers of the Apocalypse keep many records of the past. It's been a long time since we associated with them, but they might have something. Until you do find me something, though, know that I still plan to lead the Great Khans to fight for Caesar.
The Great Khans. Oh, you mean those raiders that used to clash with the Vegas tribes? Yes, some years back we taught them reading, writing, basic science. We hoped they would use it to make medical supplies, but they turned to drugs. I was never much involved in the cultural side of that project, but Ezekiel was. He's a member of the followers like myself, but his particular field is pre-war history and tribal culture. I do recall him being fascinated by the Khans. He kept going on about parallels to some ancient historical empire or another. He rarely stops in here these days. You'd do best to look for him out in the wastes east of New Vegas. He's always looking for new tribes to study.
You look like someone with a question. What can I do for you? Oh my, yes. They're a fascinating tribe with a long and unfortunately tragic history. Their original incarnation, much farther out west, was almost completely wiped out by one of those itinerant heroes so common in the post-war years. Then, of course, the new Khans suffered a similar fate, some say at the hands of the same hero, though of course the dates are all wrong for that. Well, after they migrated to the Mojave, we established relations with them, but that soured when all they wanted was to make drugs. The NCR eventually took them down quite a bit, but the really fascinating thing about them is the origin of their culture as a whole. You see, oh, of course. I'm sorry. I do tend to get wrapped up in my own theories and forget that not everyone finds them as fascinating as I do. Here, I salvaged this book from an old library. It's a history of people called the Mongols. I think that's what the Khans built their culture on. You should read it. It's fascinating stuff.
This is exactly the kind of symbol the Khans could unite behind. We'll begin readying the camp to move. As soon as Caesar makes his move, we'll depart. We will make ourselves strong again, and we shall conquer. If you should ever tire wandering alone, seek us out. You might just have the makings of a great Khan yourself.